Hello and welcome to another video of Synergic Media in the series of The Style Guru. In today's video, I'll try to tell you everything about watches. So please stay tuned until the end. You will know some interesting facts about the watches, some type of watches that you should wear and should not wear, and what would suit as per your personality. So stay tuned and let's start the video. First and foremost, I want to tell you that what is a watch. For sure, it started as a timepiece, but as of today, I don't think that watch just tells you the time. It basically tells who you are. What is your personality? It gives you a personality statement. Men do not wear jewelry in general, but watch is men's jewelry. So please pay attention. And the watches that we have on our wrists must be watches. You know what? Apple Watch is not a watch, it's a gadget. So please think what a watch means for a man. If you want to be a stylish man, wear the real watches. Now that takes me to the next point. We get plenty of watches, we get from $10 up to millions of dollars, that's a different thing. But as I always say, for the other things, watch should be normally from a watch brand, not just everything that or a designer that makes everything, because that would not give you the distinctiveness. However, we can still go ahead with some of these type of things in case your budget will not allow. I'm sure you have heard about Swiss watches. Not only that you have heard, but anyone who knows about the classic or the expensive watches would think about the Swiss watches. Interestingly, the history of mechanical watches did not originate in Switzerland. The British and the German, followed by French, used to be the first one who really did the mechanical watches, even in the 15th and 16th century. But somehow their industry did not flourish. It was the Swiss who started, particularly from the 18th, but mostly in the 19th century, took it to a very different level, and now the rest is the history. Now everything is almost Swiss, except a few of the brands. Another thing, by the way, often you must have heard that watches are investments. Yes, they are. They are investments only if there are two categories that it could give you a return. Only if the price is, let's say, $30,000 up and plus that. Why? Because anything which is around $5,000 to $10,000, although one might say that I can resell my Rolex, which was $9,000 to $10,000, fair enough, you can resell, but you may not really get the return or the investment. So the investment watches are the high price watches. But let me tell you a trick in that. Guys, go for the limited edition watches. Even the one that I'm wearing, I told you, it's not very expensive watch, but it is numbered 42 or 500, and that would stay like that forever. So try to, if you can afford, try to go for the limited editions, and in the end they may give you a good return. However, there is no guarantee in that. Interesting things about the watches. First and foremost, you have to see that what watch suits you. Let's say my type of person who is a bit heavy, who is most of the time I have to be formal, and others. To start with, I may not look good in this type of very slim watch. It's a very beautiful one, by the way. Many years ago, my uncle gave me as a gift. It's a Jovial. It's a very beautiful one, but it will not suit me. It does not go with my personality. Or, although I have bought Hublot, but sometimes if I go to office, this is not something that I would wear. Why? Because this is sporty. This is something, when you're going for the party, or you're out, or you're on your yacht, or when these type of things. If I'm going to office, I have to mostly wear, something which is more of a reasonable. This is Frederic Constant. It's not very expensive watch. It gives you a good value. So for everyday type of thing, you could do this one. However, if you want to really make a distinctive statement, this type of thing, which is unique, which is, let's say, a different type of dial, a different type of strap as well, and that gives you the uniqueness. But all in all, if you're really into making a lasting impression or a killer impression, if you can afford Patek Philippe or something like that, no question in that, because the name gives everything. You don't have to explain what watch is it. But I would say that generally, and that's a general thing, it's your choice, the watches that have straps are a bit more formal. The watches that have white faces and not much of the sporty type of thing, not outlandish, not golden, are more formal. And of course the other category I would say are sporty or as per your choice or as per your occasion. One thing that I would particularly like to say, and particularly for the South Asian men, do not buy golden color watches, even if it is pure gold. In most of the Occidental or the Western countries, even if people want to buy gold, they buy white gold. The golden does not really go well with the man, and nor even the diamonds. Don't go for these type of things. You can show your wealth elsewhere, but do not be. I don't want to use the word, but it's almost being a clown. If you're going for these type of things. One of the tricky parts is that where you should wear the watch as a man, on your left hand or right hand. In fact, there is no rule. Why do we wear on the left hand? Because most of the men are right-handed. They need to write, they need to do things with his right hand. So they wear on the left so that there is no obstruction in that. But that is your choice. You can wear on the right hand as well. But one thing that you need to be particularly concerned about is that the fitting of the watch. It should not be loose. If it is too loose, either you are giving an impression of being lousy, or you are basically a show-off. You want to show that I have this expensive watch. So try to fit into that one. And secondly, the best place is just behind this point, just behind this point, not really very much down or up, because this is the most natural part of your wrist that keeps you a bit more energetic. And if the watch needs your pulse, as you know, most of the automatic watches actually need your pulse to keep themselves running. That is the best spot to wear the watch. Why these Pateks and Rolex and Breguet type of watches are expensive? It is the mechanics in that. It is not just the value of the components, but what mechanics or what movement is used. On average, a good mechanical watch takes 3 years of a man-hour. One watch would take 3 years to make if it is made only by one person. So then you can imagine why do they charge most of the prices, so high prices. Now we go to the categories of the watches. As I said, you can even get a $5 or even less than the watch. But I would, for the sake of real watches, I would classify the watches up to $250, which are more like the working type of watches. Then from $250 up to $1,000. And then from 1,000 to 5,000, 5 to 10,000, and then 10,000 plus. That's a different category. So I'll try to explain you what are the differences and what type of good so-called brands or watches you can get in these type of price brackets. If you are under $250, basically it's your choice. I would not recommend anything, because under $250, mostly you would get those type of watches which are from the generic brands, except Swatch. Swatch, as you know, is a Swiss watch, quite dandy and fashion oriented, that you can get 100 or even under the $100. In terms of mechanics, these are good watches, by the way, because they are from a big watch group in Switzerland. But of course, I'm not really a huge fan of the Swatches for the sake of luxury watches or for the sake of styles, but these are good ones. However, let me tell you that there are a couple of brands I've recently discovered which even under $250 gives you quite reasonable value. One of those under $250, well, this is not exactly under $250. I think I bought it for about 260 euros, which would be about $300. It's from a brand called Rover and Lakes. It's a generic brand, not really a watch brand, but if you look at the shape of the watch and the functions, you get quite a lot of compliments from this one. But again, as I said, it's very rare to find these type of good pieces for under $250. Another one out of those so-called generic brands is this Lancaster. It's quite a good shaped watch. They are mostly selling online, but I would say that if you look at the shape of the watch, the functions, it gives you quite reasonable value. Now, if you're going from a $250 to $1,000 bracket, I would start with Disel. It's a Swiss brand Very good one. Of course, there is a huge variety. I doubt you would get something for $250, but maybe starting from $300 you could get. They have good mechanical watches, they have automatic watches as well, which would be of course a bit higher in the price range, but they are a watch company. Their mechanics are good, they give you a very good warranty, so I would say that this is a safe bet in terms of this price category. However, what has impressed me the most in this price category, which is starting from $700 up, is a brand which is relatively new one. It is Frédéric Constantin in French. It's a Swiss brand. I mean, you look at this watch, I have the classic thing. The family that started this brand was working with another watch brand, but then they started their own. They have very chic, extremely good mechanics and very good shape as well, and very good value. Now, if you buy this watch, I would say that the value, the compliments that you get are almost equal to the 10,000 plus type of watches. So pay attention to this one, quite a good buy, Frédéric Constantin. Staying within the 250 to 1,000 category, what I would recommend is a relatively new brand. It's called Aero Watch. This is a company which is about 100 years old, but they used to make pocket watches. They still do. They're extremely specialized, but recently they started wrist watches as well. They are very good in the mechanics, because the pocket watches are not really easy mechanics. They are probably one of the most complicated ones. So in this company, even by the way, the watch that I'm wearing is a limited edition from Aero Watch. This is extremely rare. They had only about 500 pieces, and I got number 42 out of the 500. Of course, I had to pay quite high price, but if you look at the complications, if you look at the mechanics, these are almost equal to Patek Philippe or Vacheron Constantin. But of course, the price is much lower, but they give you a very good value if you're looking for a real watch that you can be proud of. And of course, it's only a watch company, nothing else. Okay, now if we go to from between top $1,000 and $5,000 category, you have huge choice. I mean, you have Raymond Weil, you have Omega, you have everything. You have Longines. To me, I think Longines give you a real good value because it is established brand. They have a good classic type of watches. So I would recommend to go for this category. However, you have a very interesting sporty type of brand as well, which is Tag Heuer. This is also a Swiss brand, but of course the German name. They make a bit of sporty watches. I mean, this one that I bought is with the with the rubber band, a bit of sporty edition of this one, but nowadays they are making the formal ones as well. So Tag Heuer, and they have recently reduced their prices as well. Could be a good one. It's not that much classic. It's more of a sporty, a bit of outlandish statement if you want to give, but they are good ones. Okay, now we go to the upmarket brands. That means it could be anything 10,000 plus. Of course, you could go up to the millions. There are Richard Mille type of watches which even start with 500,000. You have Audemars Piguet. You have everything, And of course, when you go to these brands, it's not just this machine of the watch. It is basically what you want to put inside. I've seen some people putting diamonds in that. In the watches. So even if you're wearing a swatch with 2 diamonds, you can well imagine what would be the price of that one. But let me introduce you to some of the good ones. I think what basically gives you a very, very distinctive statement is this the Swiss company, Ulysse Nardin. They used to make, by the way, timepieces for the ships. So you will see that most of their shapes, most of their mechanics are still based on that one. But what they specialize in are the unique faces and the unique functions as well. They have very beautiful dials. They mostly use colors in that. So a very good buy, and I would say that they don't really go very high in prices, but they go very high in the statement when they are on your wrist. In this around 10,000 type of category, although they have got a bit less now, even less than 10,000 you can buy, it is the IWC. Again, a Swiss company, They make fantastic watches. Of course, their watches go up to 50,000, and if it is or beyond, then of course it could be 250,000 plus. But now, since they have reduced prices as well, I would say that IWC is a good thing to keep your eye on and good thing to buy as well. Well, between let's say around 5,000 price range, one of the best things, which again is not really only a watch company, is the Montblanc. You all know the brand Montblanc. You know they're famous for the pens and other things and accessories, but they make good watches as well. I bought this one particularly for the shape because this is quite unique. But nowadays Montblanc has very classic, very simple, very sporty styles as well. And I would say that particularly for the South Asian men, where the brand recognition of Montblanc is quite high, it could be a good buy for you. Okay, now we go to some of two of the unique ones that I have. Of course, I mean there are plenty, but I cannot give you, I cannot show you what I do not have, and hopefully I would have many of those. One thing which is a sporty but a very bold statement is a Hublot watch. Hublot, they make their own style statement. They make their own special heavy and mostly with the rubber band type of configurations watches, which are getting quite popular amongst the young people or the young rich Asians in particular. But the difference is that most of the Hublot watches would not be classic or formal. They're extremely good watches, they have fantastic functions, but I would say not really in the formal category or the classic category. And in the end, of course, undoubtedly, who could finish off the list without mentioning Patek Philippe? Classic of the classic, top of the top. Now, Patek Philippe in general is the most expensive range. Of course, it depends on the watch. Of course, they may not have the pride of having the most expensive watch. That's a different thing, because you could have an Audemars Piguet or a Breguet with the diamonds, and then this could be. But in general, I think in my view, top of the list is Patek Philippe in general as a brand. Fantastic watches with extreme complications, with whatever you want. But of course, you have to pay the price. Anything 25,000 plus would be a starting thing for Patek Philippe. By the way, I want to mention that the most complications in a wristwatch is not with the Patek Philippe, it's with another Swiss company called Vacheron Constantin. They have 37 or probably 57 complications in one watch, and that is the watch. Of course, the price is in millions. It's just one piece that has been produced so far, and the buyer is also undisclosed thus far. However, there is a trick, guys. Do you know that the watch retailers get at least 40% margin in the retail value of a watch, the high-end watches, and sometimes even up to 60%. So here is a trick. Now, why could I get, let's say, these expensive watches? I'm not a rich man. Almost every watch I got on a special discount. There are different ways to do it. I'm not going to tell it for free. It means money. If you're my friend, some of my friends have benefited, and if you're really serious, do write me in email or comments, and I'll let you know how to get benefit of this one. Because just imagine, I know a retailer who has a stock of something and he has a 40% margin on Patek Philippe. That means a Patek Philippe that is $40,000, he might be willing to sell it for $25,000. And just imagine how much you saved, $15,000. And that happens. It's only that you need to know how, when, and where to go.